One of the biggest mistakes when clinicians enter the world of business is not understanding the difference between value and price. When you start to understand that they're not the same thing, you'll start to be able to see why some people can consistently charge higher prices for their services and why some people can never escape the pricing trap. But before we do that, my name's Phil. I'm a health business architect and I've been selling health products and services for the last 10 years, from personal training, physiotherapy, and retreats all the way to workshops and digital courses. Okay, let's get into the video. There are 3 things I need to explain in order for you to understand the difference between price and value. They are: number 1, value is subjective to the patient. What one person finds valuable is not the same for another person. Number 2, price and value can be the same thing depending on the person, but most times it's not. Number 3, value is multidimensional. Many times it's invisible to the patient until they experience it for the first time. Now, what do I mean by value is subjective to the person? Have you ever wondered why someone would pay $5,000 for a coaching program versus someone who might only pay $100 for the exact same service? For example, you might have a weight loss coach who gives workouts, tracks calories, plus gives you the recipes for $47 a week, and they'll get plenty of clients. But then you'll also have a weight loss or transformation coach who gives the exact same type of service, but they'll charge 3 to 4 times the price. So what's going on? Why would anyone go with a transformation coach if they charge 4 times more? The answer is because the value of the service they're selling might be completely different. If we have Coach A at $47 a week who markets their service as helping everyday people get in the best shape of their life, and then we have Coach B who charges $197 a week who markets their service as helping people become the sexiest, most in-demand, most desirable person in the room, what the customer value becomes very different, and it attracts a different customer. Coach A would attract everyday people who want to just improve their health and maybe lose a few kilos. The idea of being the sexiest person in the room probably appeals to them, but it isn't their main concern. Now, Coach B is specifically targeting men and women who have a deep desire to be wanted, to get their dream partner, or have options in the dating world, to finally become the most desirable person in the room. Even though the methods of getting there are exactly the same, that could very well be the difference between a $47 per week program and a $197 per week, because the value of the program is dependent on the transformation and what the prospect gets. So in other words, it's what is most important to the customer. So now let's use an example, not in health, okay? A Toyota Camry is priced at $40,000 and it costs about $20,000 to make, according to AI anyway, versus a Ferrari, which is priced at $300,000 and costs $120,000 to make. Now, the margin percentage is about the same. It's about 100% of the total cost price. But the difference in absolute price is huge. So when you look at a Toyota Camry, who buys these? Typically, you have everyday people, mums and dads, middle-class people who just need a car that runs well, will last a long time, and raise their family in. But when you look at a Ferrari, who buys these? You don't get a family man who needs lots of backseat space for a baby chair buying a Ferrari. In terms of utility, a Ferrari probably has less back room compared to a Camry. It also costs way more to fix and manage. So as far as a car that gives less headache for more price, I would say that the Ferrari is the worst purchase you could make. And yet people are paying $300,000 for this car. Why? Because what they value isn't the utility or the back seat. What they value is what the Ferrari represents in society and how they view themselves when they have one. And most of you know what it stands for. It means you're top shit. It means you've made it. It means you're rich. It means you'll get all the girls flocking to you, especially if you're a guy. So neither of these examples are about price. It's literally about what the customer values or deems important to their life. Which brings me on to point 2. Price and value can be the same thing, but most times it's not. So when price and value can become the same thing is when the value system of the buyer is completely tied to the price or return on investment of the thing that they're buying. For example, people who invest in stocks with 8% return, their only focus is how much money is going to make for them in a year's time. So the higher the return with the lower of the risk means the higher value for them. In the same way, people who want to invest in property may never have even seen this house that they're buying, but because it's projected to rise in value for 200% over the next 3 to 4 years, they'll just buy it off that notion alone. And this is also why some businesses function really well on massive discounts and pricing low, because they're targeting people who are completely focused on price and bargaining. And that's why sometimes value gets conflated with price, because it's the easiest thing to make sense of. Now let me show you a few things that are clearly different between price and value. In the health field, someone who has a specialist niche expertise in your specific problem is valuable because you're dealing with someone who you trust to know your problem. For example, if you're a basketball player who has torn their ACL, if you found somebody somebody with a proven track record of ACL rehab in performance basketball athletes, you would really value that. But you can't really put a price on that, but you still see that it's valuable. Another lateral way of thinking about value is the cleanliness of the clinic or the gym you go to. There's no monetary value that can be associated with that perception. However, people would value it, and that's why many premium gyms and practices pay such close attention to cleanliness. The last example I can give you is something like time. If you only had 3 months to build your dream body to show up at a wedding, then you would value a coach who has the track record of aggressive transformations. Again, you can't put a price on someone who knows how to get results fast, but it is something that people are willing to pay for. And now the last part of value is this. Value is multidimensional, and you might not even be aware of it until you experience it. What I mean by this is a lot of people in general don't value something until it's created in front of them. For example, before the iPhone was created, most people had no idea that you could operate a phone with just your index finger. In fact, some people would have laughed at you and said that's a silly idea. Now, every single device is touch-based and people don't go back. Another example is seat warmers. I personally had never experienced a seat warmer in a car until a few years ago, and it changed how I viewed the experience of a car. Would I pay for it? No, I don't care about it. But if the price points are the same for all my car options in the future, and there's only one car that has the seat warmer without an extra price, I would definitely buy the car that gives me the seat warmer. In the context of health, most patients don't go into an appointment thinking about whether or not the physio they see can explain things properly or even speaks well. But the moment they work with someone who can't speak well versus someone who can, they immediately start to value the person who can speak well. And that's why there are so many factors to the value of a clinician that isn't directly tied to how much they price themselves or how many credentials they have. There are hidden elements of value that most clinicians don't think about, like speaking ability, listening ability, niche specialties, unique point of views, practice cleanliness, practice smells, practice review. These are all multi-dimensional value drivers that may not be completely obvious in the beginning to the patient, but once experienced, completely change their view of what they're willing to pay. So to recap, to understand the difference between price and value is 3 things. Number 1, value is subjective. What one person considers important is not the same for another, and it doesn't have anything to do with price. Number 2, value and price can be the same thing, but only for people who are using price as their main value driver. And number 3, a lot of value is multidimensional and not completely obvious until it's experienced. So spend time perfecting the entire patient experience. And hey, just real quick before you go, if you want to learn more about business and sales in the health industry, I've written a trilogy of books called the Clinician's Handbook Trilogy. In book 1, I'll teach you how to rebook patients without being pushy. In book 2, I'll teach you how to retain patients without being sleazy. And in book 3, I'll teach you how to handle patient objections without pressure. It's helped over 700 clinicians all around the world, and I'm sure it's going to help you too. If you would like to grab a copy, just click in the description box below. And there you have it. I hope you understand now the difference between value and price. Use it as you build your business and practice. Be bold, be brave. Don't be afraid to step outside the box with what value you provide. Thanks for watching. Bye.